Okay, good morning, everyone. Not sure if you see me yet. Here I am. Today, I wanted to just kind of spend a little bit of time talking about a few leadership strategies, and we're only going to take 18 minutes to do this. Keep it really simple, really short, and really sweet. And why this kind of came to be is because I had a client that recently was just kind of sharing some of the challenges he was going through. And it wasn't the first time I heard these challenges, but it was the first time I heard it described in such a way. And so, one of the things that I thought might add value to this community and anyone listening were just an opportunity for you to think about and check in with your team. Things that seem very common sense, but may not be, which are maybe talking to your staff. So today we're just going to focus on 3 leadership strategies that you can employ and actually just do right now to help really get your team, your leaders, and everyone around you excited about, or just kind of still focused on the work that needs to happen in the organization. And while I figure out how to present this, make this presentation possible, hold on one moment, I can really be able to walk you through some of the feedback that I gave to my client, and feedback that honestly, when we're coaching individuals, can be very useful. So this is our dialogue: leadership strategies for navigating uncertain times. 3 critical actions C-suite managers and middle managers can take immediately. Just a little bit about me. This is what inaction looks like, period. It's like you are battling down and doing the work as a leader, but you're missing the opportunity to focus on your team. And that leads to your clients and your staff feeling burnt out, confused. Sometimes they may feel overwhelmed, and they may not be expressing this frustration. But how will you notice when you need to invest and take a very intentional step? Maybe there's an increase in conflict. You'll notice more people are calling out sick. Perhaps the performance and the qualities that you maybe hired people for, they're not demonstrating those things. All of those high performing individuals are performing well, but just not at the level that you would expect. Your inaction and unwillingness to speak to them will lead to further loss of revenue, loss of clients, and loss of opportunities, because your talent, that's your greatest investment. So action 1, very simple. Just increase transparency. Communicate honestly, even when the answers are incomplete. Provide consistent updates on direction and changes. And the key takeaway is employees trust leaders who keep them informed. Sometimes we need to be reminded of these things, because in this day and age, it's very easy to get distracted by all of the work that you need to do, by all of the news cycles, by all of the changes in policy, by all of the immediate work that you need to do to stay in compliance. And that's fine, the work needs to get done. But increasing transparency on the journey helps everyone understand what their role is and how they feel. So talking to your employees and having that conversation. Even I am increasing transparency with my clients. When I speak to these C-suite leaders and the managers that I coach and counsel on, we discuss different points of frustration that they may have and how they're thinking about the process and the steps they're taking to address it. Not just talking about it, but actually doing something about it. What does that look like? Let's talk about the quick action. Here are a few easy items. Host a weekly leadership update. Open Q&A sessions. Brown bag lunches. Very simple things that you can do. And if everyone is remote, then maybe an online Zoom session, some one-on-ones to encourage feedback from employees. Make sure that the communication is a 2-way communication model. You can receive information and you can share information. Right now, this is one direction. I am talking to you, but you can chat back with me. And while I'm not the greatest at moderating that part right now, I will say that it allows for a dialogue. You can ask questions like, hey, LJ, how do I increase transparency when, we don't really meet, we don't really have conversations? Well, that in itself is a red flag. How can you be very intentional to hear what your employees and your team members are saying? Why? Because they are on the ground and they actually probably have more information that you can use to make better decisions. You are more informed when you understand what their challenges are. And while you may need to take a bird's eye view and understand what the holistic strategy and approach is to addressing challenges, they may have some of the keys that will make it instrumental or make the change sustainable. Because while you can make changes, they're going to be responsible for implementing them and making sure that they last. Next action, creating psychological safety. We've seen an increase in this conversation, psychological safety. When I was growing up, I've never heard of this concept or term. However, it's very popular and very common right now. Essentially, it means creating a safe space. How can you make it possible for your employees to trust that when they speak to you, it will not be weaponized? What does that mean? It means if I come to you and I say, I'm very concerned about the sustainability of this particular or our ability to keep this going, or I'm very concerned about my place and my role in the company, considering the changes that are being made, considering the direction. I'm also uncomfortable with, and that's assuming that your employees are willing to speak with you or speak to you in such a candid way. But psychological safety is making sure that if you are going to be a safe space, that you actually act and behave as one. For example, if I tell you that I am uncomfortable, that does not mean that you take that information and share it with someone else, or you essentially weaponize it and use it as a way to punish that individual or isolate them, or constantly harping on it or doing something that makes them feel like they regret having shared the information with you. Even if they're sharing concerns about their peers or sharing concerns about nuances in the systems that you have in place. Psychological safety is just giving people an opportunity where they're safe to share their concerns and acknowledge their challenges without immediate judgment. Active listening is an opportunity to mirror. And if you need a course or an opportunity to get some training on that, you can contact us. We focus on effective communication. But active listening is repeating what you've heard, sometimes it's even summarizing the words that you've heard, repeating back their words, and being able to truly show that you're listening, not hearing, but listening, not waiting to respond, but actually listening to their concerns and not passing an immediate judgment. Also means not trying to solve the problem immediately, allowing open space and time for people to speak. And the key takeaway, secure team is a resilient team. That means that no matter what happens, they know that we will work on this and work on it together. So some immediate quick actions to create safety: use temperature checks. Parents do it with children. We do it in other spaces and cases. So in meetings, ask people what they're facing, what challenges they're facing, and hopefully you have one brave soul that will speak up and that will allow for others to share their opinions, share their insights. You have to still manage the meeting so it doesn't completely get out of hand, but it's a great way to just see how people are doing, and not in a generic form, but more so saying, I saw this regulation was changed. How's everyone feeling about that? For the client that I'm referring to, one of the bigger challenges was their ability to pay their vendors. I mean, it's a trusting environment. You have providers that are doing the work up front, and with these government contracts are getting reimbursed after the work has been completed. Imagine finding out that the funding is frozen and you can't pay those vendors. Hopefully you have some cash on reserve, but that's not a long-term strategy. Most people are not carrying enough revenue to pay all of their vendors consistently for an unknown amount of time. So people are genuinely concerned. Your accountants are scratching their heads. Your service providers are questioning whether or not they can trust whether you will pay them, even though they know that you will. And it's a difficult time to be a leader, but you have to lead. You can't stick your head in the sand like an ostrich. That was the first image. We are also looking at encouraging peer support and open discussion. While ERGs are not necessarily the only place to go, look at peer support groups, look at cross-functional teams, create models that allow for individuals to work together and share challenges. You are the leader. You can design these things. They don't have to be these corporate structures. They can be smaller groups that help people think through and solve problems independently, but provide open conversation and build support with one another. And then finally, the easiest action, but the most important, focus on the purpose. Why are you here? Connect to the bigger mission. I'm speaking to my nonprofit leaders right now. I'm speaking to the people that were called to serve and really be focused on servicing a community, maybe a marginalized population. But also, if you're in a corporate role, you do have work. There's a bigger mission. There's a bigger goal of the work that you're doing. There's a reason that you're doing it. That's the best that I can give the corporate individuals. But for my nonprofit leaders, the ones that I am trying to offer some respite or advice or recommendations to in 18 minutes, because we're not doing a one-on-one coaching debrief session and really thinking about how to do this. But for right now, this is the easiest next step. Reconnect people to the purpose. Focus on the bigger mission. Remember who you serve, and why you're there. Share impact stories to remind people of why the work they're doing is so important. If you are saving penguins, why does that matter for the people that are working there? If you are saving the future generations and children, you're working with students, or you're working with other marginalized populations, think about the stories that help make this work worthwhile, that remind you of why you're there. And the key takeaway, again, is the clear purpose keeps the teams motivated through tough times. You're really looking at, no matter what's happening in the world, how do you keep everyone focused on the North Star, the direction that you want them to go, the work that they need to do. And then for the purpose, regularly recognize people, their contributions and their impact. I share this with my clients often. Celebrate the wins, celebrate the people that are doing well, celebrate the work that they're doing and how they're doing it, because it will allow you to amplify good behavior and create model citizens. And share real life success stories within the organization. So if you don't have a newsletter or you don't have an email blast, find a way to amplify the stories that help people feel motivated and that keep them on track for the purpose. Now, ways to support your staff during stressful times, some easy ones. Give flexibility and autonomy, not rigidity, not we need you to be here at this time. Right now is a difficult time for many, just because every day is probably a difficult time for many. Who knows? But I will say flexibility and autonomy is always valued, and providing emotional intelligence or just modeling it for yourself, that's rather critical. When you are stressed, they can witness your stress. So as a leader, thinking about your own emotional intelligence, how are you showing up? Are you short with them? Are you responsive? Are you wearing your emotions on your sleeve? Think about all of the ways that you are modeling behavior, because they will also take their cues from you. Invest in growth and development. So if you have the opportunity to share any type of mental health resources, if you have an EAP or you have human resource models that allow your staff to really just focus on their own emotional and personal and professional growth, this is the time to remind them of those options and those offerings, and then recognize and appreciate their efforts. I mean, we are getting paid to show up, but at the same time, sometimes people need a little bit more support. And in a very practical sense, it is easy to say thank you. It is easy to send in an email that acknowledges their support or acknowledges their work. These are very easy lifts. I will say one of the clients that I had, we sent them gift baskets to say thank you, but I didn't come up with that idea. I was a client of someone else, and they sent me this wonderful gift basket, and I thought that was so kind of them, and I really appreciated it. So I would say, pay it forward, do something similar. And my question for you is, which strategy will you implement today? Very simple, very easy. Things that you can do. You can take one step forward, and it really doesn't take a lot of time or effort, but this presentation is really a conversation about taking one deliberate step to manage and to support your team members. Did it really take 18 minutes for us to talk about that? No. Could we apply all of this to the golf course? Of course we can. Will I do that right now? No. But what I will say is, for the clients that I do have, thank you for sharing with me and really thinking about how can you help your your employees, because these are the moments that allow me to help others. Your individual experience is an example of what others may be experiencing, but don't necessarily have a forum or a space to explore that. Middle managers are the most challenged because they're trying to manage up, they're trying to manage the careers and the work that they're responsible for, and they're just in a very unique position. However, any one of these three things can help move the needle forward to keep your staff engaged. It is expensive to retain, recruit, and retrain staff. Like, to retain staff is expensive. Well, not as much. To retain staff is expensive because it costs your time, your energy. But to recruit new staff and new employees, that is expensive. To rehire and to offboard, a lot of these things, there's just so much information and time lost when a simple email could have saved time and saved someone from leaving the company. So I will say, finally, thank you for this part. I'm going to take the slide down, but the easiest next step is I have a 5-minute leadership self-assessment. You could do it. It's pretty quick, pretty easy, just for you to check in with yourself and think about, how am I showing up and what is something that I can work on? And then we're going to host a follow-up leadership roundtable in April. So stay tuned and stay connected. Follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on YouTube, or inbox me, DM me, and let me know what you're looking for. But that is what we have going on and what's coming up. I am going to just spend this time to ask if there are any questions or thoughts or things that people want to share with me. Anyone? Actually needs to figure out how to moderate and use the chat at the same time. Oh, let me put this in the chat for you. So in the event that you're listening and you can't really talk, but you're paying attention, you thought, all right, that was helpful. Now what? Let's talk. Schedule some time with me. Fill out the survey, go on our website, join our mailing list, and then listen. But that was 18 minutes actually of us being on, and thank you for your time. Hope to see you soon, and check us out on any given Monday. Our next episode is scheduled for Monday, February 17th, which is a national holiday, so you may have the day off. So tune in, hang out with us at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and thank you for joining.